The sound came first, a deep, violent groan from the earth itself, before the ceiling cracked open like it had been waiting for the perfect moment to fall. Just hours ago, she had laughed at him in front of everyone, a sharp, careless laugh that followed him like a bruise. Now, buried beneath concrete and dust, she was fighting for breath, and he was the only one still digging. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world. Ethan Miller had learned long ago how to disappear in plain sight. He worked maintenance at the old Riverside Mall, a massive concrete structure that had been slowly dying for years, just like the dreams of most people who still passed through it. His job was invisible by nature, tightening bolts, checking pipes, crawling into places no one else wanted to go. He was the man people stepped around, not the one they noticed. That morning, like most mornings, he had walked in with his head down, grease-stained hands, and the quiet hope that the day would pass without incident. What he didn't expect was to be reminded, so cruelly, of exactly how small the world thought he was. Claire Dawson arrived late, heels clicking sharply against the mall's tiled floor, her tailored coat swinging with confidence. She was a junior architect, sent to inspect the structure after weeks of complaints about cracks and vibrations. To her, the mall was a problem to be solved, a line item on a report, not a place where people still worked and struggled. When she tripped slightly near the maintenance corridor and Ethan instinctively reached out to steady her, she recoiled as if embarrassed by the touch. Her laugh came quickly after, light, dismissive, and loud enough for others to hear. It wasn't cruel in the obvious way, it was worse. It was careless. It said he didn't matter enough to be taken seriously. Ethan felt the heat rise in his face, nodded once, and stepped back into the shadows where he knew how to survive. The hours that followed were heavy with tension. Ethan noticed things others ignored. The way the lights flickered more than usual, the faint tremor beneath his boots, the hairline cracks that seemed to stretch wider each time he passed them. He filed reports that went unanswered, made calls that went to voicemail. Claire, busy taking photos and notes, moved through the building with the confidence of someone who trusted blueprints more than instincts. The mall groaned again, louder this time, and then the world broke open. The collapse was sudden and merciless. Concrete thundered down, dust swallowed the air, and screams echoed through the corridors before being cut short. Ethan was thrown against a wall, his shoulder screaming in pain, but he stayed conscious. When the dust settled just enough for him to see, panic threatened to take over. Parts of the ceiling had caved in near the central atrium, right where Claire had been working. Emergency alarms wailed weakly, then died. Phones had no signal. People ran, some crying, some frozen in shock. Ethan forced himself to stand, every instinct telling him to get out, to save himself for once. But then he heard it, a faint, broken sound beneath the rubble. A human sound. He grabbed the nearest tool and ran toward the collapse. Each step was a battle against fear and disbelief. The woman who had laughed at him, who had made him feel invisible, was somewhere under that mountain of debris. He didn't think about pride or resentment. He thought about the weight of concrete on fragile bones, about the terrifying silence that followed when air ran out. He dug with his bare hands when the tools weren't enough, blood mixing with dust, his injured shoulder burning with every movement. Time lost its meaning as he worked, driven by something deeper than logic, an unspoken promise to himself that he would not walk away. Claire was barely conscious when he reached her. Her confidence had been stripped away, replaced by fear and shock, her body pinned and bruised. The realization of who was saving her flickered in her eyes, followed by something like shame. Ethan didn't pause to acknowledge it. He focused on creating space to breathe, on clearing debris inch by inch, on whispering reassurances even though he wasn't sure rescue would come in time. The mall, once a place of echoes and empty stores, felt like a tomb threatening to close in on them both. As hours dragged on, exhaustion set in. Ethan's hands trembled, his vision blurred, but he kept going. Memories surfaced uninvited, years of being overlooked, of being treated as less, of learning to swallow hurt because fighting it never seemed to change anything. But here, in the dust and darkness, his quiet strength mattered. When rescue teams finally broke through, their lights cutting through the gloom like salvation, Ethan collapsed back against the rubble, his body giving out now that the danger had passed. Claire survived. The injuries healed slowly, but the deeper wounds lingered. She returned to the site weeks later, this time without heels or a coat of authority, just a simple jacket and tired eyes. She watched Ethan from a distance as he worked, the same way he always had, steady and unseen. Something inside her had shifted during those hours under the rubble. She had been forced to confront how quickly power and confidence crumble, and how the people we overlook are often the ones holding the world together. Ethan never asked for an apology, never demanded recognition. He didn't need it. Saving her had not been about proving a point, it had been about being human when it mattered most. Life didn't transform overnight. Ethan went back to maintenance, back to early mornings and late nights. But he carried something new with him, a quiet certainty that his worth was not defined by how others saw him. Claire changed too, advocating fiercely for safety, for listening to the people who knew buildings not just on paper, but in their bones. Their paths crossed occasionally, not as hero and victim, but as two people who had seen each other at their most vulnerable. Just before the ending, take a moment and comment below what this story made you feel, and whether you believe moments like these can truly change people. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can rise from the deepest hurt and that dignity doesn't need applause, please like, comment, and share this video so more people can feel this message. Sometimes the ones who are laughed at are the very ones who save us when everything collapses.